had been part of politics for a long time, and more so working for other folks. And a natural progression at some point is you think, well, I feel like I can step up and do something. You see things happening around you, and you feel like you have skills or input that could be quality and be helpful to the community. So, you know, at 39, I have 3 small kids. I have twin 3-year-olds. I have an 8-year-old. I live right up Midway Road, and I'm totally guilty of giving a lot of commentary to my wife about local politics, national politics, and you know, she sort of said, well, what are you going to do? And at a certain point I said, well, you know, I'd like to do something. I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy, you know, living in Anderson, and so Anderson County Council to me was a way that I could be involved in politics, still have the quality of life of family and being able to have my job locally, and hopefully have an impact on the community.
Now you mentioned Anderson. You're from Anderson?
I am.
Your family from Anderson too?
We are. My father's side of the family is originally from Pendleton, and then my maternal grandmother, they moved here the turn of the century from Royston, Georgia, and then my mom actually moved here in the early 1960s to work at then Anderson College. And she's in her 47th year now, which is pretty coal. And so, yeah, I've been working on our family genealogy.
Remind everybody who she is.
Okay, it's Margaret Wooten. She's an English professor at AU, and so we've been here for a long time. I joke with folks, I think with the genealogy we might be 7th generation Andersonians, and I tell folks that doesn't mean any kind of pedigree. It just means we didn't go anywhere. So.
Yeah, I joke with people and say I'm probably related to myself over here.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how you think your work, your professional experience, you're talking about work, will help you on county council.
One of the things I think is difficult, and it's going to be a learning curve even from the experiences I've had, especially in communicating it to the public, is how local government is connected to state government, and as it's connected to even national government. When you look at, I guess, sort of the flows of regulation, initiatives, money, it's all connected. But sometimes we speak about it socially as it's separate from each other. And you look at many things that the county council is looking to do, and it's subject to approval from Columbia. Or there may be things that we are funding when you talk about sewer or infrastructure that has regulations that come from DC. And so it doesn't operate totally individual of each other. In my background, having worked for state level and national level politicians, and actually I had 10 counties, and I would go to city council meetings, I'd go to Appalachian Council of Government meetings or Upper Savannah Council of Government meetings, and you would start to hear how these things are connected. And if you didn't have the chance to be there, it's not intuitive. You wouldn't have thought these things were connected. And I think that's going to be a difficult challenge to learn all of those processes and then communicate that to the constituents to say, it isn't as cut and dry as you might think. Our hands might be tied here. We have more flexibility here. We're not just operating independently of everybody else.
And tell me a little bit more about your business. What do you do?
I work for Tactical Medical Solutions, and we provide trauma capabilities, whether it be training, kits, proprietary medical products for military and police. And we always sort of say we're the first 10 minutes when something happens. In the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, one of the problems they ran into was when you get hurt, the bad guys don't quit shooting. And so you can't instantly get to a hospital. So what can you do in the field to hopefully keep somebody alive and to minimize their injury? And a lot of those lessons translated over to police and security work here in the United States. And so the company's been here since 2003. We've seen a lot of growth in it. I joke with folks, I'm glad business is good, but I hate it because it usually means people are hurting each other. And but the good news is that there's a preparedness culture that's sort of permeating in society now, and we see I get emails or we get messages all the time where a police officer or a soldier or even like an EMS worker or firefighter has either minimize injury or save somebody's life on duty. And many times it's not reported in the news. I mean, with everything else going on. So I do take satisfaction in the fact that we never know what's going out the door and who it's going to help. So it's been enjoyable.
And your business, you deal with folks all over the country and even beyond. Do you think that experience will help you with economic development in Anderson County?
I believe so. I get a chance to travel a good bit, and during my downtime, I do a lot of walking around. And even in the evenings, I'll either run or walk, and you see different projects that people are doing in their downtown areas, or you see different events that people are doing in their local areas, and it gives you ideas. And it doesn't always mean that they translate to being a good idea here, but I believe that one of the things that we got to keep doing is sort of challenging ourselves. What can we do next? And that, you know, for somebody to bring up an idea, or for somebody to say have a grand vision of something, doesn't mean we have to adopt it, but we definitely need to look at it. So. Sure, it doesn't mean that we have to adopt it, but we should be looking at it. We should have an exchange of ideas. We should be talking about where do we want Anderson to go in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and has nothing to do with what Greenville is or was. It doesn't have anything to do with what we think Columbia or Abbeville might be, but it's our choice. It's Andersonians' choice.
You've been coming to some meetings and you've talked to the council members and stuff. You're trying to get prepared as you come in here. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges and opportunities facing council in the next year?
The biggest challenge, no doubt, when I was running the campaign and getting the chance to speak with individuals, is being able to communicate the difference between an investment in the county's future and what people would think was wasteful spending. I think even in our personal lives, we can trick ourselves sometimes when we spend money and we say, well, this is an investment. But that's going to be the key thing, is being able to work with other council members for the good of the county while also protecting what is the interest of your district, and being able to sell to individuals, say this is good for Anderson for the next 30 years, as opposed to this is something that is a desired amenity but maybe isn't something that's going to benefit us in the long run. And it doesn't mean that we can't tackle both of them, but we're going to have to be able to differentiate it if we're going to be able to sell it to the taxpayers and inspire confidence in them that we have a plan, we know what we're doing, we're watching the dollars, but at the same time we're trying to move the county forward. Yes. Joe Riley is my oldest son. He's 8 years old. Most folks always ask me if I named him after the Charleston mayor, but we had a grandfather that was Joseph and a grandfather that was Riley, so we just put it together. I have twin 3-year-olds, Brooks and Baylor, and my wife Abby and I've been married for going on 8 years now, and she works part-time as a high-risk delivery nurse at GHS. And she's been a nurse for since we've been married. So we stay totally busy. I joke sometimes that she gives me a hard time that I'm too quick to go to work in the morning, but sometimes going to work is easier than staying at home with the twin 3-year-old. So, but she does a wonderful job, and I'm very appreciative.
So you've got a house full. If you have any time, what do you do for hobbies? What are your hobbies? What do you do?
A couple of things that I've been working on, and especially when you travel for work and you have downtime, you have a chance. I'm trying to do better at running. I'm definitely not. I don't do as well as I should. I actually have gotten my scuba license this year, and so I've been scuba diving in Lake Hartwell and Jocassee, and then I went one time in the Caribbean. So I probably know enough to be dangerous, but I'm enjoying it. I'm keeping it pretty simple, and mainly just sort of doing it for the recreation and the pictures.
So you take underwater pictures?
Yes, one of my coworkers has. We have these like GoPro cams that are waterproof, and so if you see a school of fish or whatnot, or an eel or something interesting, I hope I never see anything, like a shark or anything like that. I keep it pretty simple. So.
Anything else people in Anderson County need to know about you, Craig?
I don't believe so. I mean, like I said, I've grown up here. I've been around. One of the things I did find out when working in politics early on is, you may think that you know a lot of people, but there's a lot of people out there. And it's easy to get sort of sucked up in your own bubble and your own perception of the different problems or challenges or even opportunities. And so I desire that folks will know that I'll listen to anybody. Sometimes I'm coming in with a past experience that I view a certain situation a certain way, but it's always amazing to me when you talk with individuals that have, I guess, a different interest in that particular subject or a different background, that sometimes you learn things that you didn't know. So I hope people realize that I want to bring a lot to the table, but I don't know everything. I'm interested in talking to a lot of folks and trying to figure out practical solutions. And I understand that at the end of the day, we're not going to necessarily create warm fuzzies for everybody about local government, but I do hope that people will get to the point that they do want to be engaged and that there's a reasonable level of trust.